All right, guys, here we go with the notes for Chapter 10, talking about discussion, news, social bookmarking, and Q&A sites. A discussion board is a service in which participants can exchange messages with each other. Often, a sense of community develops around discussion boards, which have regular members that share common interests, and a discussion board is typically organized into groups based on topics of interest. So it's basically a hangout place. Think of it as a virtual water cooler. The topics are by and large going to be laid out by the title of the description, and people come in to read about and talk about and give their thoughts and opinions on those particular topics. A discussion group is made up of forums, which frequently arrange posts and replies about a specific subject in an indented hierarchical fashion so that users can easily follow the flow of a conversation. So if you think about it the way that you look at folders in on a computer, for example, you open up your folder in Windows or on a Mac, and you see that you've got one folder, and within that folder there may be other folders, and within those folders there are particular items related to that particular folder. That's what we mean by a hierarchical fashion. Sometimes it's also called a tree setup, but basically it's just the organizational structure that shows that things are associated with a particular item or topic. A moderator monitors and facilitates forum discussions, enforcing discussion board policies and rules. If users engage in abusive exchanges, known as flaming, or post inappropriate material, the forum moderator acts as an arbitrator to settle disputes and remove disallowed content, content that's not allowed, rather, and an administrator handles technical details. So the job of the moderator is to try to keep things on track, on topic, and to prevent people from doing nefarious sorts of things. Traditional discussion boards have declined in popularity over recent years in favor of certain social media sites like Facebook and the different groups and things that happen on there. However, due to concerns over cyberbullying and privacy, using a message board allows an organization to own the content and to have more control with guidelines and moderate who can address problematic discussants. Also, having your own separate place for discussions outside of a social media space makes it so that people that don't use that particular social media platform can participate in the discussions. And it also gives a sense of ownership, if you will, of that particular board to a particular organization, or allows the use of some other type of service. It also allows for better organization of things as opposed to just the timeline aspect that Facebook tends to provide. Facebook groups, though, allow any person that is an administrator to create a group that is focused on a topic and serves as a discussion board or forum. So it's rather easy and convenient to be able to set something up. The administrator can set the group as open to everybody that's on Facebook. They could set it to closed, in which that would require either an invitation from somebody that's already in the group or approval for someone in the group for somebody to join in. And then there are secret groups. In a secret group, all posts can only be viewed by members of the group, and members must be added by the administrator. So in that aspect, there is a bit of, I don't know if you want to call it privacy, that you can set up on these different levels of the Facebook groups, and create something in which those that don't necessarily want their post to be seen by the public at large, just those within the group, that you can create that sort of an atmosphere. Twitter chats are sponsored by an organization during a specific time period, during which people use a hashtag to comment on topics or answer questions provided by the organizer. So there's a couple of examples of how social media platforms have kind of adapted and sort of taken more prominence over typical discussion boards. But discussion boards still have their place with some of the advantages that they have over things like Facebook groups and Twitter chats. Marketing with social news and news aggregation sites. A social news site lets users submit links to news stories or other web pages to be ranked and displayed. Most social news sites also provide the means for readers to discuss and comment on articles. So in a way, the structure is very similar to what a discussion board would be, but rather than a particular topic that someone comes up and creates, it revolves around a particular article or news story. Several social news sites even let users vote on comments, and then they rank and display the most popular comments first. Now, one of the things with social news sites that make them rather attractive to a lot of people is that with the wealth of information that is available online, and a lot of that now coming from sources that aren't your traditional news sources, where you do have so many voices that are putting out different types of information, there's a bit of trying to beat the filters and the gatekeepers of some of the news outlets, popularizing stories that traditional media outlets might not have deemed newsworthy, is a very attractive feature for those that use social news sites. Some of the sites that have come throughout history, the one that's largely considered to be one of the first is one called FARC. FARC targeted a more general audience with what is often a humorous view of the news. And then one that is still around today, created in 2004, Dig. Dig was the first social news site to introduce voting on articles. Articles with the most digs would appear at the top, and if an article accumulated enough berries, it would automatically be deleted at a certain point. Reddit, coming about in 2005, up and down votes of the community directly affect an article's ranking. And a couple other of news sites that kind of operate in a bit of a different way. BuzzFeed and Upworthy. BuzzFeed added a community section that allows registered users to submit content. So in addition to those that specifically write for BuzzFeed, others can submit stories as well. Upworthy focuses solely on news that has a societal impact. Now, one thing in particular with BuzzFeed that makes it attractive for the social media marketer is the way that BuzzFeed opens itself up for different types of sponsored content and sponsored contributions. BuzzFeed says that it is redefining online advertising with its social content-driven publishing technology. And basically what that means is that a brand could contribute an article to BuzzFeed, and it reads as an article, it's promoted as an article, but it's actually sponsored content. In this way, companies can become brand publishers in providing the information that it gives to BuzzFeed. Perhaps the most powerful draw of marketing on social news sites is the incredible payoff stories that become popular or end up on the front page. However, for every influential social news story, there are thousands that languish in obscurity with very few votes at all, if any at all. Stories that remain on the bottom will receive little, if any, traffic. So one of the ways to try to beat that system, if you will, is to learn from the experience of others and employ certain tactics to be able to boost your chance of marketing success when you're using a social news site in order for the article that you contribute to be able to be voted and ranked higher. On social news sites, perhaps the most important determinant of an article's success or failure will be the title. Many hurried users will vote a story up or down based solely on the title and never view the attached content. It's that idea that you think you understand exactly what's going on with the story just by reading the title. Hence one of the terms that's out there right now, TLDR, too long, didn't read. You think you read the title of the article, you know exactly what's going on. People react to it and will vote solely on the title that they see. One of the things you can do is make the title appeal to short attention spans because those tend to dominate the space on social news sites. So there is that tactic in which just by providing a really good article that is going to capture people's attention, regardless of the content of the article, that could help boost or decline your ranking on a social news site. Some sorts of content are favored by social news readerships. In particular, lists are a popular format because they are easy on the eyes and they are quick to read. It provides content in such a way where there's a lot of white space. The way that the structure of the paragraphs and the numbering schemes and things like that make it very easy to skim through an article and get the highlights. Matter of fact, BuzzFeed is generally credited with the inventing of the listicle, a piece of writing or other content presented wholly or partly in the form of a list. So it now has its own title, its own category of article, if you will. Content should be well spaced so that it can be skimmed easily and highlight the main points. Again, people don't take the time to read things, especially if they're reading and there's not a lot of white space. It's not easy to follow with the eyes. People aren't going to take the time and the effort to strain themselves to read content that is not easy to follow. To increase an article's visibility, having a good relationship with a power user who can influence many others to view a story is a big help. It's one of those cases where it's not just what you know, it's who you know. And if you can get somebody that's influential in that particular platform to be able to vote up your article, it very well could be a huge benefit to you. Vote up submissions by other users with similar interests, and they may return the favor. Without genuine participation, it is unlikely that a marketer will achieve his or her goals from social news. Users who only submit their own content are quickly identified as spammers and they are ignored. So it's not just the idea of going through and liking everybody's stuff that's within your field of interest. Make sure that you are genuinely reading through those articles, that you understand the content that's there, and have a certain amount of sincerity when you are commenting on articles, that you're voting those articles up. So the more that you do that, when you support others' content frequently and build relationships with users, you basically avoid that pitfall of being voted down or not having your articles voted as highly or as much, and the better chance that you have to receive the views that you're looking for your content. Web traffic is only one potential benefit of social news as a marketing strategy. By providing space for discussion and comment by a wide reader base, social news can draw comments and input much like a discussion board. So in this aspect, you want people to be able to give their peace of mind on the things that you write. It's part of that listening aspect of the social media marketing strategy, allowing people to be able to comment, to give their opinion. sometimes even to challenge some of the things that you have written. When you do this, this can also build an organization's thought leadership by contributing valuable content to the community. Again, the more that you offer to people and the more that you are willing to provide insights and information and people see that as valuable, that increases your reputation online as a thought leader. There's also platforms targeted towards narrower audiences. With some research, a social media marketer can find social news platforms that will be receptive to almost any product. So don't just look on the traditional discussion forums. Don't just look on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. If there's a particular industry that you're a part of or a particular cause, there may be discussion forums that are hosted on certain types of websites where people tend to congregate. Again, it's that idea of finding people where they are at, finding the people that you want to target where they are at, and providing information to them in the way that they expect to receive it, on the platforms that they expect to receive that information. Many social news sites have incorporated social advertising in their platforms. This offers marketers another opportunity to use targeted advertising as well as sponsored content. So in those ways, there may be many options for you to be able to create your brand awareness and to be able to make mention of the products and services that you have to offer. Marketing with social bookmarking and e-commerce. Social bookmarking is a way for people to store, organize, search, and manage bookmarks of web pages. Most services allow users to organize their bookmarks using tags, which are simply single-word descriptors that assist in categorizing the bookmarks. And users can search social bookmarking sites using the descriptor in order to find content and then can bookmark that content within their own accounts. So you can almost think of social bookmarking as kind of keeping file folders online of different articles that are of interest to you, of different web pages that are of interest to you. And you categorize those by different interest categories, ways that kind of make sense to you. As social bookmarking has become more popular, various social media sites have attempted to find additional ways to monetize their traffic. Social commerce, or e-commerce, is a subset of e-commerce that incorporates selling within social networks. And this is something that hasn't really taken off in too large of a part. There have been several platforms that have tried to do certain things within the feeds and forums that they offer, but have really had little to no success in making those things effective. However, social shopping does hold a great deal of potential for social media marketers and could possibly open the door for future measurable return of investment metrics. Not to mention the fact that it offers the opportunity for people to be able to patronize a business without leaving the particular site that they are on. All that said, because that this is still kind of a fledgling sort of thing and hasn't really taken off, right now, paid advertising on social platforms is still going to be the greatest source of revenue for those different platforms. So that's still going to be number one, but don't be surprised if in the near future someone comes up with a way to be able to purchase things within a platform, within an app that is attractive to users and actually becomes successful.